the woman doing the ultrasound said, "Oh, he's just not opening up his hands." And she said, "Okay, we might get you to come back tomorrow and we might scan you again." And my very first ultrasound at the fetal medicine unit, they said to me, "It looks like your baby hasn't got any hands." But I do remember the moment he was born.
I remember this particularly.
And the room was silent. Like you couldn't hear a thing.
On this episode of Beyond the Labour Ward, we're going to talk to Sarah. Sarah is a mum of 4, but each one of her pregnancies had its own unique challenges. Let's talk to Sarah now. Thanks, Sarah, for coming today.
My pleasure.
Got a lot of history together.
We do.
And I'm just so grateful you can come and share your story. Yeah. So I met you the first time when you were pregnant with Joey, and you were at the local hospital, and I was a training registrar at the time. And so I wasn't really involved much in Joey's pregnancy, and understand that was a fairly uncomplicated process there.
Yeah, except, it was easy pregnancy.
How was the birth?
He was posterior presentation, and I didn't really know that was anything significant. I pushed him out posterior.
Oh, okay.
And I remember...
Very talented you are.
I didn't know that was a big deal until after giving birth, I was talking to some of the midwives, and one of the midwives had just started her shift, and the one who was there when I delivered Joey said, "Oh, this woman, she pushed out a posterior baby." And the other midwife went, "Wow." And I was like, "Oh, is that like a big deal?" So I didn't realise, but I tore pretty badly.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a lot of hard work to get him out.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then your second baby, Archer, I didn't really see you much during the pregnancy, but you had trouble after the pregnancy with Archer.
I did. So with my pregnancy with Joey, my first, when I was 36 weeks pregnant, I had this really strange pain in my side.
Right.
And it started a false labour. So I went to hospital.
Right.
They told me I'd probably have the baby that night. I was 4 centimetres dilated. My husband was in Canada.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Of course. But it all fizzled out.
Yeah.
And then with Archer, same thing, 36 weeks pregnant, this time a very intense pain in my side.
Right.
I knew something was really wrong, and started a false labour. So I went into hospital. I remember once everything calmed down, the midwife said to me, "Was it just a bit of wind pain?"
Oh.
And I was like, no. It really hurt. Something, I don't know what happened, but something really hurt. So I was pregnant for a couple more weeks and then gave birth to him. And the day after giving birth, I come home from hospital. I remember lying in bed thinking, my gosh, it's so freezing cold in my house.
Right.
It's so cold.
Yeah.
I'm shivering. And the next day, the midwife came to our house and I was shivering. I'm just so cold. Anyway, I had a really high fever.
Right.
Of like 40 degrees.
Oh, okay.
Really outside.
Yeah.
They took me back to hospital. Didn't know what was wrong. Put me on intravenous antibiotics.
Yep.
And after about a week, they discovered that there's something had happened with my appendix.
Oh, okay.
And
that's always a trouble with pregnancy, because you can still get appendicitis when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know, is the problem with the pregnancy, or is it,
Yeah.
it can be masked what's going on.
Yes, I was in hospital for 3.5 weeks after giving birth on intravenous antibiotics. And then I had to wait for everything to calm down, and then I had surgery to remove my appendix.
Right.
That was a bit of drama. And because he was my second, I kind of had planned how I was going to introduce the first to the second, and that whole transition of Joey becoming a big brother, and all my plans went out the window because I was stuck in hospital with tubes in me, and Joey, I was like, "You can't jump on me, baby."
Yeah.
And it was a bit rough. It was a rough way to have my second baby.
And so what happened with breastfeeding?
I still breastfed.
Right.
Both Archer and I had thrush everywhere.
I'll bet. All the antibiotics.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to breastfeed him. They told me I could, and that he
There's
would
very
be
few
okay.
antibiotics you can't breastfeed with, but it has the unfortunate consequence of often causing thrush, baby's mouth, on your nipples, elsewhere, and it can be really challenging.
Yeah, it was pretty awful, but we got through it. Okay. And I breastfed him for a couple of years, so I'm glad that we stuck it
Made
through.
up for it.
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we come to number 3,
Yeah.
who we just love.
We love him.
We do. So let's just talk. Everything was going fine, and then was an ultrasound around 20 weeks, the morphology scan.
Yeah.
Talk me through that.
Yeah. So I was just so excited to find out if I was having a boy or girl. Kind of, I'd had 2 boys, pretty keen to maybe have a girl this time.
Yeah, yeah.
So in the scan found out it was a boy, and that's fine. Love having sons. But the woman doing the ultrasound said, oh, he's just not opening up his hands. And she said, okay, we might get you to come back tomorrow and we might scan you again and just see about these hands. But everything else looked normal.
Yep.
So I came back, it might have been the next day, could have been a few days, I can't remember. And the stubborn little baby still wasn't opening up his hands.
Right.
And everything else looked fine though, everything else was measuring fine. And so she said, look, I think I might get someone to come in and have a chat with you.
Yep.
And a doctor came in and said, look, a baby not opening up their hands may indicate trisomy 18 or Edwin syndrome.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like the clenched fist
Yes.
apparently is one of the symptoms of that.
Yep.
And he recommended I had an amniocentesis. And I knew that there were risks to having an amnio.
What did you understand the risks were?
Well, miscarriage of the baby.
So, just for those people who don't know, an amniocentesis is where they actually put a needle through your tummy into the uterus and take a little bit of fluid, because in that amniotic fluid around the baby, there's some cells that come from the baby, and they can then check the chromosomes from those cells. And you can just imagine, like, you've got a balloon and you're putting a needle through it. How does that not just pop?
Yeah.
So 299 times out of 300 it doesn't pop, but one time it does.
Yeah.
And then you got ruptured membranes,
Yeah.
which is, will usually lead down the path of delivering the baby soon after.
Yeah.
So yes, you're right, there are
Yeah,
risks.
risks.
Yeah.
But I decided to go ahead and,
Okay.
especially if it was trisomy 18, like
Yeah.
I wanted to know.
Yeah, yeah.
So had the amniocentesis. I can remember sitting at home getting the phone call with the
Yeah.
results, and he tested negative for everything
Yeah.
they test for,
Yeah, yeah.
which was great because I was going to Thailand with a friend. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to Thailand still.
Yeah, good.
The holiday.
Yeah,
But they booked me in for some, future scanning to check how the baby was developing. And the next scan I had, his head was measuring bigger than
Okay.
it should have. His limbs
Yep.
were measuring smaller. The hands were still clenched.
Clenched.
And they said, look, I think we need to refer you to a fetal medicine unit,
Yeah. Okay.
which was the next step. And my very first ultrasound at the fetal medicine unit, they said to me, it looks like your baby hasn't got any hands. And I remember my husband on the phone to his mum driving home from that appointment crying, saying, Mum, my baby hasn't got any hands. But then we had another scan and, oh no, the baby does have hands, but they look like they're deformed. And I saw a geneticist there.
So I think I was involved at this point.
Yeah.
And I think I referred you to a fetal medicine unit that was in one of the hospitals close to where I worked.
Yeah.
And okay, yeah. So it's
Yeah, so
and
that was your referral to
I
go
remember
that way.
being involved at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw geneticists and they sort of made their conclusions as well based on all the scans and everything.
And the
And
amnio.
yeah, and I remember sitting down with the fetal medicine doctor and she said, look, our conclusion is your child has had a blood supply issue to his hands early pregnancy.
Right.
And the hands haven't formed correctly, but everything else about him looks normal.
Yep.
So they said, look, you can give birth to him at the hospital you're planning on giving birth because there was no NICU in that hospital,
Yep.
but the special care nursery, we don't think he's
Yep.
going to need that.
Yep.
And then she said, the next thing she said was, I have to offer this, but would you like to terminate the pregnancy? And I was 23 weeks pregnant at the time. And I was so taken back by that. I was
Yeah.
like, well, what do you mean? And she said, we have to offer that as an option. And I declined.
Yep.
I said, no. He said, you just told me nothing's wrong with my baby but his hands. I'm
Yeah.
very happy to go ahead with the rest of the
Yeah.
pregnancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the rest of the pregnancy was fairly unremarkable.
Yes, it was. Except how many weeks were you
It
when?
was 35 weeks.
That's right. So
Do you know what, Peter? I was determined to not have a false labour with my third.
no.
With one
Yeah.
and two.
Okay.
And it's, when you go to hospital and it's a false labour, it's not a very nice feeling to feel like you've kind of caused all this
Yeah.
commotion and
Yeah.
it was all fizzled out to be nothing. I didn't have an appendix this time. So
Yeah.
I was like, this can't be a false labour. I remember I was 35 weeks. I'd finished work on the Friday and this was the Monday. And I'd been away with some girlfriends over the weekend. And I was ready for 5 weeks of just relaxing.
Yes.
I was ready.
Yes.
to chill out. And I started having contractions on the Monday afternoon. And my friend was one of the school mums and she went and picked up Joey from school for me. And she was a GP. And so she sat with me and started timing my contractions. And she's like, do you think you should call the hospital? I'm like, no, it's a false labour. I am not going to hospital with a false labour. Anyway, eventually it was getting a bit painful. And so I called the hospital and said, you better come in. And it wasn't a false labour.
No, it wasn't.
No.
And although you weren't under my care, you were under the hospital's care, I was actually the on-call doctor.
I know, which was meant to be.
Clearly.
You were meant to be there that day.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you were actually.
Yeah, because the continuity was really nice in this particular situation.
Yeah.
And you were in labour and it all started to happen. And then you tell me what you remember.
Yeah, so the labour with Nathaniel is a bit of a blur because I think I was just so keen to see this baby that I don't even really remember that labour very much.
Yeah.
But I do remember the moment he was born.
I remember this particularly.
And the room was silent. Like you couldn't hear a thing.
I remember
Yeah.
you and your husband, Andrew, just straight away, you didn't look at anything else other than the hands. You went straight for the hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the midwife said, sweetheart, it's not just his hands.
Yeah.
His toes are all fused together. And I don't know if it was in that moment or it might have been just afterwards you said to me his head didn't mould coming down the birth canal.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, oh my gosh, he's got a syndrome.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just his hands, it wasn't just a blood supply to his hands, there's something else going on. This is much more intense than what we were told. And I remember they took Nathaniel to the side of the room and I turned around to have a look at him and I saw him for the first time. And so I didn't get to hold him like I had with my other babies. So on the side of the room and I remember seeing his little face was all squashed. He had this really big forehead and I could see his little hands weren't normal and they were kind of flailing around a little bit. And I just saw him and I had an overwhelming feeling of love for him immediately.
Isn't it amazing?
I know, right? And thank God I had that feeling because the journey that was to come, I needed that intense love for him.
I'm just taking you back a few minutes where you said 5 weeks of bliss and calm.
Yes, this was the opposite.
Correct.
This was chaos.
Yeah.
And actually, I have to really thank you because there was a moment where the paediatrician had come and Nathaniel was struggling with his breathing. So there was a lot of commotion going on around Nathaniel and you were over with me and we were delivering placenta and all the rest.
Yeah.
And you just said, look, can we just stop? And you asked them if I could just hold Nathaniel just for a moment. And that was so precious. And I've got a photo of myself holding him like you're meant to do when your baby's born and you're meant to touch them for the first time.
Yeah.
And you are the one that said, can Sarah just hold him?
Right.
And I didn't get to hold him for quite a long time after that moment. So,
exactly. Yeah.
And and I remember not really knowing what was going on. No one was telling me that I was having breathing problems. So I just said to everybody, so can I feed him now? That's what I did with my first two. They're born, they put on your chest and they start their first feed and everyone was like, no, you can't. And I was taken out of my arms into the special care nursery.
I don't remember that at all, but it just becomes I'm always keen to get the baby with the mum as soon as you can. And sometimes when you have that separation, you're just highlighted that really
it meant a lot. And to have that photo of him on my chest, you know, that's normal.
It's normal. That's right.
The situation wasn't normal.
Yeah.
That was a more normal moment. Yeah.
So let's just summarise what happened. So I think you and I both, in our own way, worked out that he had a syndrome.
Yeah.
And then the other doctors too, but we all came to the same conclusion ourselves by the useful medical search engine called Google as to what was going on. And so you tell us, you know, how would you describe his situation?
Yeah. So Nathaniel has a syndrome called APERT syndrome. So APERT was some French guy who identified a similar characteristics amongst some people with disabilities and he named it APERT syndrome.
Yeah.
So it's characterised by a fusion of the plates of the skull.
Yeah.
Premature fusion. So Nathaniel had a fusion across the coronal suture across here, which is why his head didn't mould coming down the birth canal, and that changes how the face grows. So the middle part of the face doesn't grow normally. Yeah. So the craniofacial differences.
Yeah.
Predominantly, like the eye sockets are quite small compared to the eyeballs. The eyeballs are normal size. The eye sockets are small, so the eyes protrude. Fusion of the fingers. So that can be fused in different ways with the syndrome, but for Nathaniel had what they call rosebud hands, fused like this. So he had no fingers.
Yeah.
and his toes all fused together. Narrow airways, lots of issues with breathing, which, oh my goodness, we almost lost him multiple times because of his breathing. Intellectual disability as well. Nathaniel has a mild to moderate intellectual disability. So a lot going on, a lot. So when Nathaniel was born, no one had mentioned Apert syndrome to me, but overnight his breathing had gotten pretty severe, and so he'd been sent off by nets to another hospital where they had a NICU.
Yep.
And I had to wait till the next day to get there, and I waited for an ambulance to take me because I would need to remain an inpatient.
Yes.
The ambulance was taking too long.
I know.
I was like, I was done. It's like,
But the ambulance, you're just a mum who's well. You don't get the priority over somebody who had a car accident.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I know the desperation you wanted to get
desperate
there.
to see my baby. My dad drove me instead. I couldn't wait any longer. And when I first got to the hospital, even before I saw Nathaniel, a geneticist pulled me into a room and she said, your son's got a very rare syndrome. She told me, that was the first time I heard the words Apert syndrome. She said, if he can survive the first few years of his life, he won't be the best looking kid on the playground, but he'll probably have a normal lifespan. And so that was my first time ever hearing that. And she said we'd had a baby in the hospital fairly recently that had Apert syndrome. So she said, I've seen this recently. And it was probably like Nathaniel at that point. Once I saw him, he was in level 3 of the NICU. He was fully intubated, machine breathing for him.
Yep.
And he was like that for almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was touch and go whether he was going to survive.
I remember getting phone calls from the family and talking with you and stuff, because I know your family externally to just the pregnancy. So it was, there's a lot of prayer.
So much prayer.
The whole church.
In fact, once Nathaniel was obviously going to survive, so he was on level 2 of the NICU, he was still on some nasal prong oxygen, but he didn't need the more invasive breathing support anymore. One of the doctors came up to me, and she must have been she would have been early intern. She must have been an intern. And she came up to me and she said, I want you to know that your baby's a miracle. And I said, oh, do you know that we're Christians? And she said, Sarah, everybody in this NICU knows that you guys are Christians, because we had so many people praying for our son. And she said, I really believe that your son's a miracle.
Nice.
And none of the doctors here thought he would survive. And I just remember being shocked. And she gave me a big hug and she said, can I pray for him? I said, of course. Yeah, so right from the beginning, like his life was a miracle that he survived. And then we had a few years of seeing that miracle happen over and over again when we were told he's probably not going to survive. And then
he does.
He did. He's now 11 years old, and those days of him being so unwell with his breathing, they're over. He now doesn't need that breathing support when he gets sick anymore.
Because he's had lots of operations to correct that.
10 surgeries.
I think the last one he had to wear a lot of mechanical apparatus on his head.
It was last year,
Yeah, they readjusted all the plates in his skull.
Yeah, moved his facial bones forward, so now his eyes don't protrude like they used to.
Yeah.
Which is so wonderful. And that surgery was meant to happen when he was older, but he had a situation where his eye wasn't in the right place anymore. Let's just say that it popped out and in the pool. So the surgery got brought forward, and he had the bones moved forward a bit earlier than we planned. But it's been a really good outcome. Yeah.
So during this time of intense NADI time, we'll call it, where you just having to Andrew had to be in the hospital a lot.
Yeah, all the time.
Joey and Archer.
I know, my babies. That was so hard. So initially we had them, because we'd often have to go to the hospital with Nathaniel just with no notice. Like he would just get sick and he would decline in his breathing so quickly. We'd have to rush and just find out who was free that we could just, I don't want to say dump.
Yeah, help.
Yeah, with Joey and Archie. And it got to the point where they were getting really unsettled, as you could imagine. So we packed up our house and moved in with my mum and dad.
Yeah, fantastic.
And lived there for 2.5 years and had that consistent support.
Wow.
So when Nate had to go to hospital, Joey and Archie didn't have to go anywhere. They could just stay where they were.
Yeah.
And that was a really good move. That brought a lot of stability that we didn't have before that. Because
Because how old would Joey have been?
he would have been 6.
Yeah.
To like a period of like 6 to 8.
Yep.
And Nate was really unwell those 2 years. And Archer was 3 up to the age of 5. So they're really important formative years. And like now that they're teenage boys, like it hasn't scarred them.
Yeah,
Right? They're
that's good.
really
Yeah.
solid kids that they're good, they're happy kids. Half men, half kids.
Yeah, that's right.
I know.
Teenagers now.
Yeah.
Well, we all love Nadie and love him
Yeah.
being in all of our lives. So,
Yeah.
but then you were brave enough to have another go.
I know. Crazy man.
Yeah.
I always wanted 4.
Yep.
It took a bit of convincing for my husband because obviously he didn't want to go through this again, neither did I. So we saw geneticists and had testing done to see if we carried anything that caused Nathaniel syndrome, and came back with the results that we had no more risk of having another child with APET syndrome than anybody else having a baby.
Sure.
And I just knew it was going to be a girl.
Okay.
Yeah, really felt
Right.
that God had told me it was going to be a girl, and I really wanted to have a daughter. In fact, this actually happened when I was pregnant with Nathaniel. Before I knew it was a boy, before I knew there was anything different about him, a girlfriend of mine had had a dream, and she was a Christian. She'd had a dream, and in the dream, was having a girl, and she'd met my daughter, and she knew my daughter's name, and I'd never told this friend the girl name that I'd always had picked out.
Right.
And I was like, what was the name? She said, Chloe. I'm like, interesting. And then I found out I was having a boy. And I was like, oh. But I just felt like God told me in that moment, Chloe will come. And it actually helped me get through everything with Nathaniel because I so wanted to have a daughter. I just knew if we went again, it was going to be Chloe.
Right.
I felt like I had a promise. And it was a girl.
Very good.
Yeah. It was Chloe.
And I was so grateful you came to me for that.
Yeah.
It was nice to help you through the whole pregnancy.
Yeah.
Really
which
got
was
to know you a bit more.
wonderful. Yeah.
And well, there were a couple of things that I remember, but towards the end of the pregnancy, what was starting to happen?
I had very significant back pain.
Yeah.
Like, I remember coming into your office one day and just bursting into tears, which I don't do that easily. And I knew that you knew, oh, she's not okay. I wasn't really sleeping because I was in so much pain when I lay down. So I was having to sleep sitting up on the couch. Like, who sleeps sitting up on the couch?
Yeah.
But it's the only way I could get free of the pain. And I was done. I wasn't sleeping. I was looking after 3 boys as well with all this back pain. Yeah.
And of course, the challenge of it all is that often pregnancy can give you back pain.
Yeah.
And so I think we just kind of managed that as best we could,
Yeah.
give some pain relief and
Yeah.
physio, and
Yep.
then Andrew had to go overseas.
He did. And I told him if he went, the baby would come. And he's like, no, he'll be fine. Yeah.
So I think you were 37 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 38, I think. Yeah. Yeah, and she decided she would come.
When Andrew was in England.
Yeah.
I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he was in England, trying to get home from England. But you were there.
I know.
Right from the moment I got to the hospital.
Yep.
And you
I just
looked
sensed
after
it.
me. Yeah.
I just sensed that because Andrew, not that, I mean, I would say Andrew's very important, and I think he was on FaceTime.
He saw the whole thing.
On FaceTime. And you did a good job.
Yeah, that was my first time having an epidural.
Yep.
The other 3 labours,
I think it's because of your back pain.
I had to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to do labour without having an epidural. And it was a great experience. I remember sitting with you, having a coffee. I was, and 6 centimetres dilated. I'm like, this is a different experience. Because I'd done 3 labours with no drugs.
That's right.
And, it's a bit intense. And this was a very different experience. Yeah.
So, and out came Chloe.
She did.
Yeah, and I think that was just very normal, that whole delivery and
It was.
breastfed and able to put her on your chest, and it was really good.
And she had hands
I know. I think we all looked straight away. It's
Yeah.
funny, these things that just become a highlight for you.
Yeah.
But that's not really what I remember next, because the back pain didn't get better.
No, and I
We were
thought it
hoping.
would.
Yeah, I
thought I'll
know.
give birth and it's all going to be
get better.
over. It did. It definitely improved a little bit after giving birth, and I think probably the fluid coming out of my body, and it did get a bit better. And I think we kind of had the conversation of let's just give everything time to settle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I think we did a CT scan.
Yeah, we did an MRI.
MRI. An MRI, okay.
Yeah, you said come into emergency.
Yep.
And let's get you an MRI and see what's going on. Because I think we both thought maybe, because you know what, it wasn't just the pain, I was having other symptoms too. I was having some tingling in my legs, a bit of weakness in my legs. It just didn't feel right. So let's have an MRI and see.
Yep.
And that showed nothing.
I know, it was just so underwhelming.
Yeah.
And I was thinking it was just some referred pain from the back or whatever, and it was very disappointing to see that result. But, okay, well, nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
More pain relief,
Yeah.
physio, you were out there walking and trying to do all the things you were meant to do.
Yep.
I can't remember how long it took. What happened next?
Yeah, look, I procrastinated a little bit. I knew things were getting a bit worse, but life was very full and busy with 4 children.
Yeah.
So I probably put it off a bit longer than I should have, but I eventually went to my GP. Or maybe I came to you. I can't remember. It's a little while ago. But I had another MRI.
Yeah.
Maybe through my GP, I think. And that came back showing nothing as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because all of my symptoms are in my lumbar spine. And so they were focusing on my lumbar spine in the MRI. So both the one I'd had just not that long after giving birth to Chloe focused on lumbar spine, the second one focused on lumbar spine. And picked up nothing. It's like, okay. So I went on with life a bit longer and then went back to the GP and went, something is wrong. So she sent me to a neurologist.
Yeah.
And my first appointment with the neurologist, he did a few other tests on me, some nerve conduction studies and things. He said, something's wrong. And he said, I think you have MS.
Oh.
He said, I want to do a full scan of your brain and your spinal cord.
Right.
And he was looking for signs of plaque for MS.
But that's for MS is multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
And it shows little plaques on the nerves on the MRI, which is what you're referring to. So
Yeah. So this is a good year and a half after Chloe's born, even maybe up to 2 years after Chloe's born.
Yeah.
So booked in another MRI, but this one was a full everything MRI. I remember being in so much pain lying in that MRI machine because it was a really long one.
Long tunnel.
Yep. And after the MRI, I went and had lunch with my dad. He was working just across the road from where I had the MRI, and I'm sitting there having lunch with my dad, and the same phone number keeps calling me. I'm like, oh, it's the 3rd time they've called. I probably should answer because when I'm having lunch with someone, I don't like to answer the phone.
Yeah.
So I answered the phone, and it was the man looking at my scan, and he said to me, "Are you anywhere near an emergency department right now?" I said, "Oh, I'm actually just across the road from a hospital." He said, "I want you to go to emergency immediately. There is a very large lesion in your spinal cord, and I do not know how it's possible you're walking." And I was like, "Really? Are you sure?" So I went to emergency. This is just before COVID was starting, so people were sitting with masks on in emergency, but it was just the early days of COVID. And I sat in emergency for such a long time with my dad. My dad kept me company in emergency. And it was this is all afternoon I was there. It was 9:30 at night. I finally saw a neurosurgeon, and he brought up my scan. I hadn't seen a picture of this yet. And he showed me the scan. And he said, "You have a very large tumour in your spinal cord." And he showed me a picture of the tumour.
Wow.
It was 5 centimetres long. And it was squashing my spinal cord. My spinal cord was a millimetre thick. That's how much this tumour has squashed my spinal cord. And the surgeon said to me, "We don't know how it's possible you could be walking around with this thing in your spine, but we got to get it out of you. You're not going anywhere." And I was meant to start a new job the next day. And Andrew was out of work. This new job was our saving grace that we were going to actually finally get some income, and I couldn't. I had to call up my new boss the morning I was meant to start and say, "I'm in hospital. I'm having surgery sometime soon. They've told me I might be paralysed after this surgery. But yeah, I can't start work today." And that's the job I still have currently 5 years later. They kept the job open for me and let me go through the whole process of surgery and removal of this tumour, which happened at the end of that week. I had surgery to remove the tumour and recovered.
It was a bit, I don't know how to put this, but so many people in pregnancy have back pain, and it's really humbling to, when somebody has an actual problem. and you feel like you missed it.
Yeah.
But, you know, even the MRI afterwards that we did of the area missed it. But I think when they reviewed it again,
They could see
a
it.
tiny bit of it was just poking in there, but
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Because it was in my thoracic spine.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where the tumour
And
was.
the X-ray.
And my symptoms were lumbar.
So
Yeah.
it's really. Anyway, it was very.
I remember you calling me. I remember the night before my surgery, and you called me in tears, which your heart was so beautiful towards me, and I think you felt. I don't want to say guilty,
No,
but
but
you just
affected. I was affected.
Yeah. But
Anyway.
who knew it?
Exactly.
And we did everything right to try and
yeah.
find this thing that was growing, and it would have been there that
It
whole
would have been.
time.
Oh,
and it was the cause of all those problems. But the result has actually been totally fine.
Full
I'm
recovery?
okay. Full recovery.
All the nerves in your legs fine?
Yeah. I get a little bit of pain in my back every so often when I do a little bit too much.
Sure. Okay.
But nothing to complain about.
Well, I would say each one of your pregnancies had something interesting.
I'm quite a non-dramatic person in my everyday life. Yeah.
And so now, because of Nady and his special needs, how does that affect the family dynamic at the moment?
And it does affect it, for sure. So, and it's hard as a mum because I've got 4 kids to think about, not just him with his special needs, but he takes up a lot more of my attention and my time, and he's very bonded to me, wants me for everything and always wants to be near me. So it's hard to juggle that and to give everybody the attention that they need. So it's hard, and you know, when we go somewhere, like Nathaniel can't walk for very long periods of time before he gets sore legs, and he can't really be in crowds for a long period of time before he gets overwhelmed, and he's very focused on himself. And I think it's making my other children compassionate people, because they have to think about someone that's not them. And I think they're all going to be better adults because they had the experience of being Nathaniel's sibling. The 2 older boys often give in to Nathaniel and let him get his way. His sister does not.
Oh, I've heard that about Chloe.
Yes, which is so good for Nathaniel. She puts him in his place, tells him to get over it and stop whinging or stop trying to get all the attention. So it's been really good for Nathaniel, and they have a very normal sibling type of relationship.
Good.
And I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I think if we had stopped at Nathaniel and he just had his 2 big brothers who saw him go through a lot, you know, saw him in ICU, you know, intubated for weeks on end. We didn't hide that from the 2 older kids. We let them see their brother. And then they've seen that, so of course they let him get away with a lot.
Because
Chloe didn't see all that. She treats him just like she would treat any other big brother. Yeah, and I think it's good. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thanks so much for coming and sharing your very interesting story. And
my pleasure.
I've been really grateful to be involved.
I'm so grateful you've been involved.
And thanks very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.